What's up everyone? I decided to do this video series to not only kind of document my progress throughout my OSCP journey, but to also maybe help out others that are thinking about taking the OSCP course and exam, or maybe you already have the start date. So I'm going to be covering a few things, but the first thing I want to do is introduce myself. I'm Gone Wild and I'm about 40 days into my 90 days lab time. I don't really have much of a background in professional penetration testing, but I've been studying it for the last few years. I've got quite a lot of experience on Hack4Box and Vulnhub. I've done some courses on Pentester Academy. I've done Red Team Nation. I did Georgia Red Team Nation's course. It's really good. You should check that out. I did Georgia Wademan's Advanced Penetration Testing course on Cybrary, which I would really recommend everyone to take before booking the OSCP, as it is decent. It covers quite a lot of stuff and it helps me to prep. I've been writing code and learning about other areas of cybersecurity for quite a while, so I'd say I have a fairly good foundation for the OSCP. I'm not an expert by any means, I don't have any professional experience with penetration testing or any sysadmin experience, etc. Which was actually a bit daunting to me at first, because I see all these people that already have a lot of experience with sysadmin careers, and even some penetration testers that have been in the field for a few years actually saying how hard the OSCP is and how they've failed the exam a few times. Even people that already do this for a living are failing their exams a few times before passing, and they just keep throwing themselves at it. Everyone's talking about how hard this OSCP is, how it's such a big deal. It's the most respected certification in information security, etc. So anyway, regardless of this, I felt ready, so I booked the OSCP course and picked a start date for like 3 weeks later. And in that time, I just relaxed and went over the course syllabus, looking at things I wasn't that familiar with or things that I hadn't seen before, and did research on those subjects. I bought Hack4Box VIP and went over to TJ Knowles' OSCP prep list, and I routed about 10 of those machines. That's pretty much it in regards to the time between booking the OSCP and starting it. About 4 days before my start date, Offensive Security actually updated the PWK and labs. For those of you that don't know what the PWK is, it's the OSCP course. So anyway, they updated it all, and so I had to upgrade to updated materials and labs, which cost about $200 more or something. So I was a bit upset about having to pay more for that, but I soon got over it and paid for the upgrade. When I reached the start date, I downloaded this huge PDF, which I got in my email in a link. And this PDF was about 800 to 900 pages long. It really is an absolute beast of a PDF. At this point, I hadn't really decided to do the exercises or lab report yet. I just started reading through the first few sections of the PDF and kind of ignored the exercises. But then after talking to some other students in some discords who had decided to do the exercises, and a lot of people were saying that you should do the course materials and exercises before doing the labs. Even one of the OffSec staff guys in an InfoSec Discord I'm in was constantly stressing, do the exercises before the labs. So I decided to take that advice and start on the exercises. Now my plan was to get all of these exercises done in 30 days, but I definitely underestimated the amount of exercises there was. By the time I reached the buffer overflow section, I was already 30 days in and only just under halfway through the training materials. And I hadn't even touched the labs at this point. I still had 75 machines in the labs to hack, so obviously I was feeling really stressed and burnt out by this point. My expectations weren't met, and I was like, oh man, I better ditch these exercises and just focus on the labs. But part of me was like, no, don't quit. It kind of hurt a bit because I'd spent so much time on these exercises and it would all be for nothing if I just stopped now. So anyway, I decided to carry on with the exercises, but I also split the time and started on the labs as well. Started hacking my way through the labs a bit. Now, regarding the labs and my current progress, I don't think I'm doing too bad. I've gotten through a few machines, some easy, others I've spent the entire day grinding on one box, sometimes even 2 to 3 days straight. Sometimes that's my fault because I haven't been enumerating well enough, which I do really need to focus on. A lot of this really is just enumeration. When people say the OSCP is all about enumeration, they're not wrong. They're definitely not wrong. I'm still grinding away at the training materials and exercises. I'm a little over halfway through, and I've done an insane amount of work. It really is a lot of work, like it's really hard. And 90 days in OSCP time just isn't a long time at all. It might seem like a long time, but when you have a huge amount of work to do like this, it's nothing, honestly. It really is a lot of work. So, tips. I'm not exactly sure what I'm allowed to discuss here, but I can certainly discuss a few things that have helped me out along the way. A tool called Auto Recon by Tiberius is amazing. I'll leave a link in the description for it. It's a real time saver. It automates all of the scanning and recon and organizes the results into organized, neat directories for you. It really is a great tool, and I'd highly recommend this to anyone starting the labs or even the exam. This could be a real lifesaver in the exam because you can just focus on the buffer overflow box and then leave auto recon scanning in the background. Like you can scan multiple machines at the same time. So I've got the GitHub open, so I'll read a couple of things from the GitHub. So Auto Recon supports multiple targets in the form of IP addresses, IP ranges, and resolvable hostnames. It can scan targets concurrently, utilizing multiple processors if they are available. Customizable port scanning profiles for flexibility in your initial scans. Customizable service enumeration commands and suggested manual follow-up commands. An intuitive directory structure for results gathering. Full logging of commands that were run, along with errors if they fail. Globals and per scan pattern matching, so you can highlight/extract important information from the noise. So yeah, Auto Recon is it's a big tool. You should really, I recommend using that. And a tip for the labs from me would be to enumerate. And when you think you've done enough enumeration, enumerate more. Google is your best friend here as well. Just use Google for everything. Google things like service versions so you can read up on any misconfigs for that version, or there might be public exploits available for that version. And when you feel like you've tried everything, try harder. It's times where we feel like we're about to give up that breakthroughs happen. You really need to get your head down and focus on the materials and get as much done as you can. But manage your time. Time management is a huge part of this entire thing. It's very important that you manage your schedule and manage your time efficiently. Take breaks, mix things up. If you get stuck and you're feeling like giving up, just go for a 20-minute walk to clear your head, and who knows, you might have the answer to your problem by the time you get back. And if you're feeling burnt out from the exercises, just take a break again and focus on the labs for a bit. Do a few machines and then get back to it. Don't get stuck on the machine for 12 hours like I did. Just document where you left off and then move on to another or go and do some exercises. The tips for people that are considering or are prepping for the OSCP course and exam. I would suggest going over TJ Knowles' prep course, which has a bunch of OSCP like Hack for Box machines on it. I'll leave a link in the description for that. So yeah, just do a lot of Hack for Box in general. Take a look at the PWK course syllabus and be familiar with most of the things on the list. You don't have to know all of them in depth, but you should be familiar with them. You should have a good understanding of networking, Windows and Linux internals. Know some high level programming languages like Python and shell scripting. You should being able to read and modify exploit code would be valuable as well, but they'll teach you that anyway. Web technology and the ability to analyze problems and pick up new technology quickly is useful. And also, don't just read books on these things. The main difference between, say, a uni degree or some other course is that they're not often hands-on. It's mostly just study this book and take notes, then do some projects and exams for that subject. Whereas OSCP is entirely hands-on and very technical. I mean, offensive security gives you a lot of materials to study, but you're supposed to use what you study in the lab environment. So while reading about these subjects is good, make sure you also get a lot of hands-on practice with these things as well. There are a lot of resources out there like Hack4Box and VulnHub, which I'll leave both of those links in the description as well, and they'll get you some good hands-on practice. I don't want to make this video too long because I have a lot of other stuff to get on with, but I will try to keep on top of weekly updates with some more tips and tricks to come in the future videos. I plan to get maybe one video out per week. So yeah, thanks for listening. I'll be back later.